hit the button. We hit the button. We need it to turn blue. When it turns blue, we hit it and 2 other buttons. If it don't turn blue, it don't. Tell me it's going to the old YouTube and not the new one that I'm currently waiting on. Connect stream software. Yeah, it probably is. Let's refresh it quick and find out. I don't like this new studio. You can't connect to it. It's insane. Alright, we're going to assume that it's going to the old one. Let's check it. Other not connecting. Let's see what my dashboard says. Am I live? Looking dumb? Probably. Oh yes. Well, is it live? It is. Okay. So sorry for that brief intermission. We're going to flip on the Facebooks, and we'll accept that. I suppose we have the chat beginning here. Let's get an overview of the bench. We have a body on the slab here. We have some other tools there, and better yet, we'll flip over to the Sony camera. Right. Can anybody read that? Can we see that that says needs a fan? If it'll focus. Needs a fan. I'm just covering the name and the phone number. We haven't created the work order yet. We're not working. We're just replacing. Anyhow, I have an idea. I've seen the inside of quite a few of these before. Okay, your standard compact HP made, what were they? I have one here. And it don't have the stickers on the side. Oh, it does. I can't see the name, but HP made some that were very popular with this type of layout for the hard drive. Very common. Some of them had video cards, but I don't think any. They might have came with one of these. Usually it had like some type of capture card or a TV tuner or something you'd see in the HP ones. Not sure about the compact. Anyhow, needs a fan. So let's start checking. Alright, power supply fan spins. The back fan spins, and this one spins, but I'm guessing it's that maybe. That's a little rough. And it's not even plugged in. Okay. Did somebody try messing with it? And it's not what I'm thinking it is. Let's disconnect the hard drive and put some power to this thing quick and see what fan it is. I'm guessing the CPU fan. Quite a few of the CPU fans in these had went out. This is a little dirty, so it's understandable why it would go out. And we're not booting any hard drives, so where's the button? for it needing a fan, I'm gonna say no. All of our fans are spinning. Let's test it. So I wonder if one had dirt built up. The CPU fans were very common failure in these, so I don't want to rattle that blade with something too hard or too big. Not metal, plastic. Rounded plastic. Okay, that one's definitely moving as well. Well, let's go over this anyhow, just because. We'll actually do. Let's try that again. That fan settled in. Alright. It feels good, but we're going to go over this anyhow. Okay, this is kind of hard to see. Here's another thing, which we kind of get to cover two things at once with this. See this little piece? What that is, there's another piece there as well. They fell off of one of these bottom screws, it looks like. That's what holds the screw in the actual fan. So let's see, as we start tearing this fan out. There's three, here's four. I'm gonna say it's got to be one of these bottom screws. It's like a little push-on washer. It's like pressure fit, and you try to pull them off, they'll break. Alright, here we go. Yeah, we're missing this one. So what that is, you have a fan and a spring. Now, let's say this fan was bad and we wanted to replace, which given it a little push, it should spin more. So I'm going to say it was this one had some dirt and it was just locked up with dirt. It has a grind, and just because it spins doesn't. You could probably maybe blow it out with air. I wouldn't tend to keep it. So let's go over the two ways to replace one of these proprietary fans. You have these washers pressure fit on the bottom here. Let's try and pull the camera in closer. Okay, and closer yet. You can see we're missing one on this side here. You can see the other corners. It has those little washers there. So if any of those are broke, you can replace them pretty easy. I have to find one of what I'm looking for. If you have computer parts laying around, undoubtedly you've seen these little cardboardy type washers. They're red or brighter red. You could go to the hardware store and perhaps get another one of these that isn't broken. You can see that one split in half. That was laying in the bottom of the case here. So aside from getting the proper size of those, if it's not some weird size that your hardware store doesn't have, another thing you could do to lock this pin back in so you don't lose the screw, you know, if the screw would fall out and the spring comes off the screw, which isn't likely but can happen whenever you have the fan out, you could lock this back in with those little cardboard type washers. You need like basically a nut driver, a fiber, I think 4.5, 4, maybe 5 millimeter nut driver, and one of the cardboard type washers, and then obviously a screwdriver. So we're going to do that now. We're going to hold our screw in. Probably actually get it with our hand. Nope, we need to pop it out to the part where that washer was sitting. There's a little space there. And if it doesn't rip to shreds, it will retain your screw enough to at least keep it together till you get the fan back in. And then you can just pull them off fairly easy. That's if you can't go get the little metal ones from the hardware store. There's a quick and easy way to retain those. Now, if you have to replace this fan and you're sticking with the same heatsink, this is the first way. What you're going to do is break those, and we are actually going to replace this fan. This is the only one that has a grind to it when it spins out of the power supply. The power supply one is smooth, and the one on the back of the computer runs smooth. This one just, it will spin when power is put to it, but it's not smooth like the other two. So we're going to say it's broke. If you were stuck and you had, say, a fan that was the same size, is the one you want to replace, but it's not quite the same. Or perhaps you have a similar heatsink. Well, if you do, or the same or similar, you can just put the heatsink on, clean it off. But when you get into separating the fan from the heatsink is the thing. So first thing you have to do is you're going to break all these off. So you either need to go get more, or go get cardboard to hold your screws in, or just risk losing the screw that's on the screw that goes in, or risk losing the spring, and you can just literally mount it back down. Which this is one method. Whenever, if that's what you got in your pile of parts and no money to replace it, that's what's going to work. I've never had too much luck in pulling these off, because they always do that. As soon as you try to get it off of there, they end up breaking. Alright, so there we have two gone. Do it on camera. Smart guy. Then number 3. And let's go finally for number 4. Actually pulled one off without breaking it, but it's ready to snap. It's broken 90% of the way, just not 100. Okay, so with all the screws and springs out, our fan is now separate from our heatsink, fairly dirty. I don't know if you can see it, but it's fairly dirty inside where the magnets are and the bearing and that. So I'm going to say it's the CPU fan. It's the only one with significant buildup like this. We need a drink break. Truth be told, if you're going to be careful, you don't even need to lock those pins in that hold the fan to the heatsink. But it's nice. You get it, once they're through here, it's going to be on there pretty sturdy, and you can just screw it right back in. That's one method for replacing your fan. So after you have your heatsink clean, and this is for reference, it's a compact SR 5433WM. So there is there's the model of what it is, and then HP has some similar looking towers. I'm going to go ahead, get some alcohol to start knocking the old thermal compound off the bottom of this. Alright, with that clean, let's go for CPU as well. CPU is cleaned up, good to go. Alright, so let's move this back out of the picture. And here's the fan that we want to replace. However, we got a problem. We can't, our pin isn't going to fit down far enough to go back through the hole and be down in the proper position for mounting. Even so, it's not spring loaded, and the spring won't really fit in there without compressing it, and you need it to go further than that. So if you have a fan that is the same size, undoubtedly the same size, it's not built the same, But if you're just going with the parts you have and you have your same size fan, this is where you got to start modifying stuff. And for the people that choose to go down this route, yes, you can do it. Is it what you would normally do? No. Normally you would order a new heatsink and fan combo instead of breaking it apart. However, we're going to go with parts just to show the two different methods for getting a fan back on this computer. One, we have to modify some stuff. Now, we're going to drill through just the top to make the hole bigger, leaving the bottom hole the small size that it is so it retains the spring and the long screw that does the mounting. Once you use your 1/4 inch bit, if I didn't say that, everything will fit down through and you will get your proper distance for mounting. And funny enough, when you put it back in the factory fan and then a fan like this, the screws sit at the same height, so basically you can see, they sit at the same height. You can see there's a cutaway version of what's going on inside the corner of this fan with the screw. The smaller hole that the spring wouldn't fit through on the top, like this, we drilled it out with 1/4 inch bit, just the top part, and then the bottom one, like I said, catches the spring and the screw and lets it mount down over the heatsink and then to the back plate that's behind the motherboard in the actual computer, fastening the heatsink fan combination down to the processor. So we'll go around and do the other 3 corners on this one and go over that, show you that part, and then show you method number 2. When you go to do the corner with the wire, get it out of the way, wrap it around and hold it, or in case you're scared you're going to slip, you can actually pull the wire out through and then get it out of the way, and then you'll have a clear space. Again, a 1/4 inch bit is the right size for this. Go slow and it will work. Go at a slight angle, not perfectly up and down, but just very slight angle inwards. Number 3. And number 4, finally. Rip our glove, we'll be alright. Get all our shavings out of the way. And in case anybody's thinking that we forgot to look stupid just because we didn't say it, we are still protecting eyes even though we're drilling slow. Yes, they are not safety glasses, but they do indeed work. You only get one set of eyeballs if you don't have safety glasses and do have sunglasses. I never really stressed this before, but it protect your eyes. Definitely. You don't want flying something other to go in it. We're going for the 2020 king of looking stupid. What do you think? Alright, drilling done. We can remove those. Back to that heat sink. Let's do a little coil on this to take up some of the room. It seems that this wire is a little longer than the factory fan. And now all of these will go through and reattach our new used fan that spins freely to our heat sink, and we're ready to take it and lock it back down to our processor. That's as close to stock as you're going to get. If you have to actually just pull the fan and reuse it, that's about as close as you're going to get there. And like I said, if you want to retain these, you can go the painful path of getting your little cardboard washer. If they don't have them at your hardware store, you can't find the little metal snap-on washers or safety I forget what they're called. Safety washer snap. It's not a snap ring, but it's kind of like what a C-clip or snap ring does, but it's in a washer form with grooves cut out, so it will push over and then lock on. You're kind of not going to get it back off. The other way to do it would be, if you don't have those with the screwdriver, you need to press it out just a little and then use a nut driver, put it on there, and it will hold the screw in. It's not going to fall out. And we're going to conclude this fairly quick after we get past this part. Give me back my glove. Are these as safe as washers? No. I'm not going to say they're going to hold up for years and years, but if you're clumsy, worried about dropping all the screws out, tilting it, forgetting, they should do the job to hold it together until you're ready to put it back on. Finally, a use for those little red washers after all these years. Well, I guess I should say another use. That one squeezed kind of, but it will undoubtedly hold. Fan secured back on there. We're ready to thermal paste, put back on, and we're going to go over method number 2 with this goofy proprietary heatsink. And it's not really proprietary, it's just a screw down version instead of a snap-on version. Let's go ahead and get our computer over here for this one. We're zoomed up there, let's zoom up here. We have a few things to remove, and this is the quick part. Which, I don't know which way there would be more work. There's more hands-on with the fan this way versus the other way. Let's pull out the video card, get our 12-volt rail, audio, USB, our 20 pin. This was never upgraded to a 20+4 or 24 pin. We'll go ahead and pull this out. What we have left, our front side panel and a single cable with black forward, our power switch, reset lights, all that goodness. optical drive and then the hard drive. And I think for this one, just because I don't have a direct replacement, this may be the method we go if we're gonna see. Component placement on the motherboard does matter. If you just have stock average, where did it go? Nobody. Right between the RAM. At this point, your motherboard should be free. All these wires and the stuff coming from the power supply won't really permit it to come out. Move it out of the way, get your board out, and let's take a look. Here's that goofy backplate I was talking about. You don't want to pry, as most of them are taped down. You can try and heat it up with a heat gun, or press on it from the front side a little bit. That will lift the corner to let you know if there's tape holding it. There is some tape around the center. I'm going to, it still won't fit. We need a smaller screwdriver that won't fit through the threads and won't. Alright, we're going to take a moment and throw some heat on it, warm it up. Let's see if we can just pull it off. Guessing no, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, no, not happening. Keep in mind, hot metal. Still got to go a little warmer. And there is your back plate off. Another thing about these size, and I don't have a quite exact stock one here, but you should recognize these goofy little mechanisms. They are, it's a socket 775. When they put the back plate through, it's still the same size holes. And this is an old worn out one. This fan will work if you get it spinning, but we don't want will work. We want, and as funny as this looks, this will fit your stock 775 socket. So I think for future fan troubles, where we're not going to have stuff rigged together, we will put this combination on there. You do have to keep in mind about the MOSFETs and everything, capacitors beside the motherboard. You will have cutouts generally. The cutouts in your, if it's not all the way around, it will be here and here where the cutouts go, or anywhere else. But there's a fit, and it doesn't look like it's going to run into anything. Possibly, we'll check. It may hit the very bottom of the case. If it does, and then we'll know we got to go with the other method. But I much prefer this over putting that goofy fan combination back on. So let's do that quick. We're going to clean up our fan. Alright, the heatsink is cleaned out. We have a good fan. Another thing about this is it's easy to unsnap, and you could put another fan in without having to drill out anything, do any drilling, just snap the fan right back in place. So we're going to explore this option. If you had the stock socket 775 fan, it looks more like this, but it's got a whole plastic housing around it and these little pins, which these pins are the same on this one. And depending where the pins mount, you'll find out they're all the same size for where they contact the CPU. It's just other people did their own takes on them. We're going to go ahead and lock this onto the board with the CPU and then attempt to put it in. We'll see if it's going to hit the top of the case. Alright, don't forget with socket socket 775, you want these little tabs spun the opposite way of the arrow. Spun the way the arrow is forward releasing. So we're going to go ahead and start latching these down. Let's check pins on the back. We do indeed have... Oh, it made that plastic stand up a little. That's fine. One lock that one and push it back through. Try it again. That's just the plastic for that holds the adhesive for that back plate, which you could peel off. You don't need it there. I just left it there. Curiosity in this instance. Alright, and all of our black push pins are locked, pushed up through and latched in. Some people say they don't like these because they come undone. I've never personally had one come undone unless the computer is being tossed around in the back of a vehicle or bounced around. And if that's the case, back for this hardware when there really wasn't SSDs, what are you doing to your computer at that point? I have to wonder. And just to be sure, which it probably shouldn't matter, as far as I know, industry standard, we're going to have the same pin out. So let's get our fan connected. Tuck this wire in and call it good. And like I said, for using the same type of fan as was on the original heatsink, it's much easier to place than to have to go get replacement little snap washers and drill holes to let it sink through. But both methods would work. A stock layout for mounting socket 775 fastening system, or the screw down into the back plate that fits the socket 775 whole layout on the motherboard. So let's get this put back in and end this live stream. Remember, we still may have to bail if our fan is going to run into the bottom of the case. Then we got a lot more trouble. We got to go back to the goofy one. So that's fine as well, but I think it's going to clear it miraculously. Alright, we're lined up on the back. Our fan is not touching. Another thing, ooh, don't forget, hit the camera with your head. If the fan or the housing, the heatsink housing, anything was hitting the bottom of the case, that's going to make noise. You're going to have vibrations from the fan spinning just making you crazy. So. Alright, the RAM is pushed down, latched in. Let's go for everything that needs connected. Our front panel, or our switch. We're going to put black forward with our front panel USB or card reader. It was on the bottom. We have another front USB. Our audio. We have our optical drive. And then our hard drive. Connect that all back up in a moment. Let's get our power supply. Go for our 12 volt rail. Our 20 pin. I'll do the hard drive last. We're still going to power this on and go for our GPU. Our CPU fan is plugged in. Our back panel fan is plugged in. We need our graphics card. Alright, so we have a few outlying, or want to be different. Back panel, whatever they are, I/O shields. And what did I hit? What did I hit? Alright, we got a fan spinning. That's good. Let's get our hard drive plugged in and we'll see if it actually boots up. We may have to adjust something in the BIOS when you're using a different fan, as it may spin up louder, spin up at a slower RPM. Always check that out. Just don't throw it in and assume it's good. And then we still have this jump with the fan. Like I said, the other fan was no good. We have another good fan that's modified for either use, snapping in there or going on to something like this. Spend a moment and lock it together. Alright, all's well. That ends well, hopefully. You know what? I think we can connect it without much, right? Whoa, where did that come from? That don't go up here. Off the bench KVM channel. Let's get number 2. That looks better. Keyboard, mouse, speakers, monitor. I don't think we'll need internet, but let's plug it in for fun. We can giggle a little. Okay, and let's see if the KVM comes up. It did detect channel 2 right away on my KVM on the bench. Computer's booting. Fan is not spinning overly loud. Do BIOS update or check some issue. So it looks like they may have a bad battery. Default values were loaded in the BIOS according to the KVM. We'll shut it down and pull the battery and check the voltage. It's supposed to be 3 volts. Alright, and shutting down. You have to love older hardware, as it's just not as quick as lightning. We'll put it that way. So it says shutting down, and it's still bidding. I wish we would have plugged this into the stream. I do. Are you shutting down? Okay, now it's shutting down. Windows 10. Proof that, yeah, if you haven't done it, you can run Windows 10 on something like, what is this, an Intel Pentium dual core. So this is old hardware, and it works. Okay. Discharge the power supply, the power. And we're even smaller to fit our hands. Battery from the system. Said checksum error. So we're going to get a voltage off our battery, see how low it is. 2.94. I'm going to call it not that. We'll say it was something else. Alright. That's that. We're going to boot this up, but not on just booting up. It works. Trust me, we don't need to plug it into the stream. And that's where I'm calling it a night. So thank you for tuning in now, in the future, whenever. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. And have a good rest of your evening. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whenever you click this link. Thank you. And I think we end it there. Yes. As always, thank you so much. And I will see you tomorrow with something different, hopefully. Have a good one.